My cat is in your pool. When I was a freshman in high school circa 1997, my sister and I both had bedrooms in the basement. Our parents got us our own phone line because they were sick of our friends calling and us always keeping their line busy. I was a night owl. I always stayed up really late. One night, around 2 a.m., I finally hopped into bed and drifted off when our phone rang. I knew that my sister was asleep, so I jumped out of bed and answered it. The person on the other line was horribly panicked. "Please, please help me! My cat fell in your pool! My cat fell in your pool! Please!" The voice sounded female to me in my sleepy haze. "I don't have a pool," I replied, feeling extremely confused. The voice turned deep, sinister, raspy, almost inhuman, and said, "Well, I don't have a cat." The line went dead. I was shaking and terrified. So, thing without a cat. Let's not meet. It was only the pizza man. This encounter happened when I was about 7 years old. My sister and I invited our neighbor who was around our age to come over for a movie night. To give you some idea of my old neighborhood, this is important to the story. The neighborhood is pretty old, so the houses aren't far apart or super close together, like most neighbors are these days. It's also very hilly and a ton of trees all around. Her house was beside my driveway, less than a 2-minute walk to her front door. Anyways, after about 2 hours of pizza, Scooby-Doo and girl talk, it was about 11 o'clock, so we decided to walk her home. As we started walking towards her house, we noticed a black truck parked at the end of her yard by up the road. Nothing odd, since people park like that all the time. Right as we all stepped off my driveway and into her yard, a huge hooded figure stepped out from behind one of the far trees in her yard. We froze, not sure if we were seeing things or if it was a real person. After about 30 seconds, we started backing up, trying not to lose eye contact with the figure. That's when he started walking slowly, getting faster with every step. By the time we hit my driveway, he was stepping onto hers. We booked it sprinting for the door. He also started running at this point. All of us screamed, ran into my garage, and locked the wooden door behind us. Our screams were so loud that my mother and grandmother heard us and met us at the door. At this point, all three of us were freaking the hell out, trying to explain to my mother and my grandmother what happened. We told them that a man had chased us. My mom called my friend's house to see if they saw anything outside. My friend's grandma said they didn't see a truck or a man. My mom ended up walking with us this time, since we were all too scared to walk alone. My friend's grandma told us that we saw the pizza man. Even in my 7-year-old mind, I knew that was a lie. What pizza man hides behind a tree? Also, the only other car was the truck, which didn't have a pizza place logo anywhere. About 2 years later, we found out who the hooded man was. It ended up being my friend's 45-year-old uncle, who was a known meth addict. Apparently, he was super out of it that night. According to her grandma, he just wanted to play a prank on us. To the cracked out uncle, who was also a pizza guy that wanted to pull a prank on a group of children, let's not meet again. FBI guy. This story happened when I was about 17, 18 years old in 09-08. I was creeped out at the time, but for whatever reason, forgot all about it, until reading a recent story today about a man who claimed he was in the FBI. I worked as a hostess for a Chinese food restaurant in southern NH at the time, and was finishing up high school. I've always had an interest in true crime, and by extension detectives, FBI, and the like. A man in a suit, about 5'10", brown hair and eyes, maybe about 30, comes in, and I seat him at the bar. We start talking, as it was nearing the end of the night, and it was slow. He tells me he's in the FBI, and tells me he knows classified stuff, but can't tell what. Most of the conversation is normal and light, but he soon begins asking if I like a ride or to ride with him. Red flag. I told him I have my own car and don't need a ride or want one. He keeps pressuring me, and I began to get freaked out, thinking he would stalk me in my car or wait outside for me to leave. I told one of the busboys I was, and I'm still friends with today, that I felt unsafe, and he walked me to the car that night behind the building with little lighting. I didn't see Creepo out there, but as you all know, he could have been. I made it home safe and thankful that I wasn't too stupid and had gone with him. I shudder to think what he had in mind, especially now as an adult. It's much more sinister. The time that I silly stringed a creepy clown. I've never had any experiences that really freaked me out, except this one. I was around 11 years old and was with my sister and her friends. We were all girls. They were all around 16 years old and were taking me trick-or-treating. We were going door to door to get candy and playing with silly string. I kept getting this weird feeling, like I was looking behind me constantly and had no clue why. Around 9:30 p.m., I turned around quickly and there was a guy dressed up as a clown, about 2 yards behind us. I wasn't really scared about this because I like clowns, and since this was the first time I saw him, I figured that he was just trick-or-treating as well. But he followed us for another hour, never getting candy, and waiting for us at each house we stopped at. At this point, I was stressing, and told my sister about the clown. She decided that we try to do a completely different route and see if he still follows us. So, we all crossed the street, and he followed us. My sister absolutely hates clowns and was freaked out, so she called our dad to pick us up. We continued walking around for 30 minutes until our dad called us, saying where he was parked. We all started walking fast towards the direction of my dad's car, and that's when the clown ran in front of us and tried to corner us. I think he knew that we were trying to leave. My sister and her friends were freaking out, and me, being a naive and outspoken kid, I yelled at the clown to leave us alone. I remember that he tilted his head to the side when I said that, kind of like a confused dog. I grabbed my sister's silly string and told the clown that if he didn't leave us alone, I'd ruin his outfit with a silly string. Again, I was a naive kid. I actually thought that he would be scared of silly string. The clown didn't back off, so I stringed him all over his mask and costume. While I did this, my sister called her dad again, telling him to hurry where we were. The clown struggled to get the string off of his mask so he could see, but we were already running. My dad came around the corner and we all rushed inside the car. The clown caught up with us, trying to open the car door, but it was locked. As my dad hit the gas, the clown slammed his hands on the back window. I remember watching him out the back window, trying to chase the car, but failing. I never figured out what was up with that clown, but there were other reports of a clown with the same description, chasing kids in the area. So, creepy clown, I hope that the silly string ruined your outfit, and that we never meet again. Creepy clown encounter. Please be patient, I'm a long-time lurker and this is my first post. I don't know if many of you remember this, but back in 2016, there was a creepy clown trend where people dressed as creepy killer clowns and would hang out in places after dark or stalk people. My story takes place on my college campus during fall of that year. I lived with my grandparents before leaving for school, and I am extremely close with them. Also, I am very shy and had zero friends or people I regularly hung out with at school. I wanted to reach out and meet new folks, so I signed up for a salsa dancing club that met on Friday nights. I told my grandma over the phone, and she was happy I was putting myself out there. She asked if I was going with anybody. No, I told her, I'm just gonna go by myself. Are you sure? She asked. Don't any of your roommates want to go? The idea of talking to my roommates terrified me. I could handle structured gatherings, but personal conversations left more room for my awkwardness to creep in. No, they're not here. I don't want you to walk around campus all by yourself at night, I told my grandma. She was just being overprotective. Grandma, it's fine. The streets are well lit, and it's only a 10-minute walk. It's perfectly safe. Well, if you're not gonna go with anybody, call me and let me talk to you on the phone as you walk back. I agreed. That evening was incredibly fun, learning the basic steps and dancing to upbeat Latin tunes. At around 10:30, I felt ready to head home, back to my dorm. So I snuck out of the building and headed towards my dorm. Although the paved road I was walking on was lit by streetlights, it seemed darker than usual. In addition, the entire campus was deserted. Normally there were quite a few kids my age wandering around, but that night, there was not a soul to be seen. I dialed my grandma and made small talk with her as I walked. I took my heels off and carried them in my free hand. Now, the path I was walking on went past a stretch of sidewalk that was perpendicular to the one I was taking. Under one of the street lights, about 10 meters away, I noticed a lone figure standing with its back towards me. The figure, hearing me chatting on the phone, slowly turned towards me. He was tall and heavy-set, with wild red hair, and appeared to be wearing light blue pajamas. His face was obscured by a killer clown mask. The mask was stark white, with dark black eye sockets and a twisted, malicious grin. Time seemed to suddenly slow way down. The clown did not move towards me. He simply stood there, staring. I knew I had to think fast. I contemplated my options. I could A, scream like a little girl and run, and B, approach him and confront him, or C, pretend he didn't scare me. The entire moment I just described couldn't have lasted more than a second, but in the moment it felt like an eternity. "Are you there?" I heard my grandma say. Remember to breathe. With the phone still at my ear, I decided to go with plan C. I broke eye contact with the clown. "So anyways," I said loudly enough that the clown would hear me. "Yeah, I'm on my way," I continued. "What's going on? Is everything okay?" I heard my grandma ask, her voice suddenly filled with anxiety. As confidently and nonchalantly as I could, I walked past the sidewalk where the clown was standing, continuing to chat. His head slowly turned as I walked past, watching me until I was out of sight. I ducked into the archway of the nearest building and tried the door, praying it was unlocked. It was. Once I was inside, I slumped against one of the concrete walls and broke down in tears. I explained to my grandma what had just happened. My grandma yelled for my grandpa to dial campus police on his cell phone so that I could stay on the line with her. I got up and started pacing up and down the empty halls, checking every door and window to see if the psycho clown had followed me. Was he just a stupid kid doing this on a dare? Or was he someone with more evil intentions? Some of the creepy clowns in the news had axes or baseball bats. I had no idea if mine was armed. When my grandpa tried to explain to the officer on the phone what had happened and that I needed help, he told my grandpa, "Your granddaughter needs to make the call herself." Apparently, the reason I had to talk to them was so that they could be sure the call wasn't just a prank or just some stupid reason like that. The point is that they wouldn't take my grandparents' word that I was in distress. I would have to hang out with my grandmother and dial the campus police myself. Not knowing if I would survive the night, I told my grandma between sobs, "I love you." "I love you too." My grandma was also crying. I dialed campus police and told them who I was and what had happened. The officer on the phone sent several other officers to find me, while I stayed on the phone with him and gave him a description of the clown. As I was talking, I heard a door open. I froze. Was the clown here? Did he find a way in? A tidal wave of relief washed over me as several officers came striding down the corridor. They walked with me back to my dorm. As soon as I was inside, I locked my door and window and I shut the blinds. I called my grandmother back to tell her I was safe. After talking for a little while longer, we said goodnight. Since then, I've made a few friends at school. Well, I am in a better place now. I do not go out alone after dark anymore. And as for that creepy clown, let's not meet again. Anonymous digital stalker. I don't know why this wasn't the first story I posted, because in hindsight, it's one of the creepiest things to happen to me. Sorry about the length. This went on for a while. It starts in 2008. I was in year 9, 9th grade, and Facebook was really blowing up. Me and my friends were all over Facebook, as most kids are. One day, I got a friend request out of the blue. The account had an intentionally ugly profile photo taken straight from the first page of a Google search. Profile was almost empty, except a few crude jokes and statuses, but it had over 500 friends and a lot of mutuals with me. I accepted it because I accepted everyone back then and forgot about it. It was about a week later that I got a single message from this account saying, "Hi." I imagine I replied something like, "Hello," but didn't get a reply. Again, I forgot about it until I got another message. This time it said, "How was bowling?" My friends and I had been bowling the night before, but anyone who had me on Facebook could see that. After that message, all of my friends got a friend request from this account, and most of them accepted. I got more messages that were creepy but explainable. They'd be like, I like your shirt. Straight after I posted a daily booth, they're like, "I like that Neo song," when I had my last FM on my laptop. None of this bothered me, and I just laughed it off, because it was all information I'd chosen to share on the internet. That was until I started to get messages like, "When is your mom back?" Or, "What do you get from the shop?" after I'd been out. I assumed it was one of my neighbors watching me, until my friends all told me that they were all getting similar messages that were getting worse. They started to get worse for me as well. They included photos of my parents' cars parked outside restaurants and shops, and once a close-up of the house number on my door. My friends got stuff like photos taken off of family members' profiles and Google Earth screenshots of their houses, but nothing as bad as what I was getting. The creepiest thing I got was a photo of me outside of my school. It was clearly taken from the driver's seat of a car because you could see the passenger door. Neither me nor my friends ever told our parents about this. I guess we thought we were old enough to handle it ourselves, you know? Around this time, I got a BlackBerry for my birthday, and the same day I got a text from a 5-digit number saying stuff like, "Guess who?" and "New phone." They were using one of those websites to text for free or something like that. This continued for about 3 weeks. Then I told my mom I was getting prank calls, and she got me a new SIM. They stopped for a while. This is where it starts to get a lot weirder. So I started hanging around with this kid who I knew from school, and he'd been to my house a few times with other people, but we never hung out, just the two of us. We would get the train into the city and just explore and usually end up in this park that's part of a shopping complex. We met this group of people our age a few times. They were in that park regularly. I really hit it off with a girl named Beth, who was part of that group, and we talked for hours. I asked her to add me on Facebook. She searched my name on her phone, and when she found me, her face dropped. We only had one mutual friend. Guess who? She told me she's been getting really weird messages about her and her friends for a few weeks now. Around the time we met, for a few minutes she was convinced it was me, and started getting mad until me and my friend showed her the messages in which we were getting. We kind of bonded over this, and she'd text or call me whenever she got another message. Eventually we got pretty close and went on sort of a date. We went to Nando's and walked in a park on the outskirts of the city that's really nice in the summertime, then went to my house and hung out for the rest of the evening. We lost track of time, and it was about 11 p.m. My mom didn't want her walking to the train station at that time and wasn't sure she'd even make it to the last train, so offered to drive her home. We all got in the car, and when we got to the toll tunnel that took us into the city, my mom said she was sure the car behind us had been following us for the past 2 miles. This kind of freaked me out, but I didn't say anything. We lost the car in the tunnel, got to the city and made sure Beth got home safe, and drove back through the tunnel. We stopped at a McDonald's that's a stone's throw away from the tunnel entrance, so my mom could go get coffee. I got a McFlurry. As we were pulling out of the car park, I saw a car behind us that I'm sure was the same from earlier. My mom didn't notice, but it definitely followed us from McDonald's all the way to our neighborhood, then turned up a different street right before the turn onto our street again. I didn't say anything. It had been a long day, and I went straight to sleep. The next day, I woke up to about 15 messages saying some really fucked up shit. They were really malevolent, but they weren't threats. Hope you had a good time, dickhead. You shouldn't be doing what you're doing. Did you fuck her? Bear in mind, I'm like 14 years old to 15 years old at this time. I didn't reply to any of them, and I didn't tell Beth because I really liked her and didn't want her to be scared away by it. She didn't say if she got any messages that day, but she did say about a week after that they had gotten a bit weirder, like detailing her dad's job. Eventually, this person got my new phone number and started texting me daily. They'd detail where I was, who I was with, what I was doing. I made sure there was absolutely no way this information was being shared on any social medias. My phone's GPS was always off. I rarely uploaded photos of what I was doing to Facebook. If I did, then I'd wait a few hours to upload it. By this time, most of my friends had stopped getting the messages. It was just me, Beth, and my best friend Kylie. Me and Beth dated for a few months, and when it was made Facebook official, I got a lot more texts. Most of them were blank, but they were all sent from 5-digit service numbers. I started getting letters addressed to me that would be a blank piece of paper or just scribbles. I don't know how I managed to keep my mom from noticing them. Beth and I broke up but remained really good friends. It had just been under a year since the first message, and everything, the texts, the calls, the letters, they just all stopped abruptly. Beth and Kyle didn't get any either. The Facebook accounts was deactivated about a month later. To this day, I can't figure out who might have been. I have limited all my close friends. I feel pretty stupid for not telling anyone about it. Beth's family moved to a different city when we were about 17 years old, but I saw her on New Year's Eve, and she told me that last year, she and her roommate had a guy stalking them, calling them in the middle of the night, and banging on their door. She said they called the police, and the guy was arrested the second time he came to their house, but she didn't know anything about him. She just said the things he would say on the phone reminded her a lot of what our stalker would say to her. So, cyber stalker, let's not meet.